Hi, Seaworthy Functional Medicine community. Today I'm here with CK in the first in a series of testimonials. And these are folks who have issues that have arisen for Seaworthy functional medicine patients. So the word gets out. So those of you out there who have a similar issue, hear from somebody that benefited, what's happening here. And hey, CK, thanks for taking the time to do this. It means a lot to someone or somebody's out there.
Thank you.
So we were reflecting as we got ready for today's session that there was a sort of genesis story, right, of why you came to functional medicine. So what do you remember about that time that was getting you down, and why did you think about Seaworthy as a next step?
Yeah, I remember it very clearly. I had had a stroke, and I was about a year post-stroke, with not a lot of improvement in my symptoms in that year. And so what I was dealing with was a lot of brain fog, brain fatigue, and body fatigue, where I really couldn't do what I needed to do to be a mom, to be a wife, to participate in my normal activities. And along with that then comes depression and anxiety and sleep issues. So I needed some help, and I was not interested in jumping into a bunch of pharmaceuticals to solve these things, and I wanted to dig deeper.
How did you hear about the functional medicine clinic?
I was actually referred by my OBGYN, complaints to her, and she was the one that suggested. So I really didn't know what I was getting into, but I had a total open mind. Just reading about functional medicine, I had inside me a yes, feeling like this sounds just like what I want to do.
Fantastic. So do you remember how we solved we've done a lot over quite a number of years. I shouldn't forget to mention you volunteered something that you liked about this particular clinic, which is that we never quit.
That is very important. Yes, I would come away from each visit. Sometimes they were in person, most of the time in the beginning, but every visit that I've had with you, I walk away with a feeling of hope, of now we're going to try this. And it's always been up to me. I am given the suggestions and the ideas, but it's my decision on what I'm going to spend my time and my resources to pursue my health.
I can't think of any positive feedback I ever received that makes me feel more proud than that we never quit. And we chatted about it the other day, that's so important, that we always say to ourselves, okay, well, what are the options now? And it paid off.
It did.
So we were really, really careful not to do anything from a conventional medicine perspective or a functional medicine perspective that would increase pressure on the area where that stroke happened. So it's worth noting, one thing we did is we were just super cautious around what I would call conventional medicine issues, which I think is a reminder that functional medicine never happens at the expense of conventional medicine safety. And that seems to me that was part of establishing the Therapeutic Alliance, is kind of that reassurance, like anything, yes, we won't undertake things together that would push your blood pressure up or what have you. So do you remember some of the diagnostic tests we did, like the Dutch Plus or the Genomind?
Yes, from the very beginning, the Dutch Plus provided a wealth of information that I never even knew was possible to see about myself. And so it was very helpful to have that hard data to help make decisions from that point and have that starting point. But then later on, we would test again, not right away, but maybe a year or a year and a half later, because your body changes and your needs change. And so maybe what we were originally working on then evolved into something else. And I'm a middle-aged woman dealing with perimenopause, and it was very helpful in helping to stabilize life during this stage.
The Dutch Plus for our community is the dried urine test of comprehensive hormones from Precision Analytical, and the adrenal and the sex hormones are intertwined, and so CK and I used the data that came back to figure out how to support adrenal function in terms of free cortisol profile and estrogen, testosterone, progesterone, DHEA, et cetera, how all of these things are made and cleared, what are called organic acids, measures of B vitamin levels, which again was part of energy and break cognition. And my memory is that was about half the battle. I think sometimes more, sometimes less, but working through all of that hormonal balance.
Sure.
You were pretty consistently reporting, this is what I was after. Mm-hmm. So, boy, was that a big deal.
Very much so.
And then we hit a juncture where this was, again, where I'm really proud that we stayed with it, because a couple of visits you felt like, come on, I am doing these things and my mood is underwater. And do you have anything you want to share about sort of persevering when it's...
Are you referring to my visits right after COVID or right around that time?
I'm remembering the irony and frustration of mood is that you have to use your brain to fix your brain.
Right.
You have to use the computer to fix the computer. And I remember you saying, gosh, it's such a drag to be bummed out. What are we going to do?
Just feeling like I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing, and why am I still feeling so low? Riding that wave of mood where I knew that I could feel better, but my mood then again got really low, dangerously low. And so then we had to come up with a new plan again, which I knew I could call you and say, it's not right, please help me. And we worked together and came up with a plan.
So we did the Genomind test, which is a genetic test of predispositions toward good mood or not so good mood. And in all fairness, it was designed to look for medications. What are the best choices of medications based on genetic favorability? What are called pharmacokinetics and pharmacodynamics, which is a big mouthful, but how are medicines handled and cleared by the body, but also what are the root causes on a genetic level of whether a serotonin medication works better than a serotonin norepi medication. And because I'm lucky enough that the PhD pharmacist Dan Dowd at Genomind takes it really seriously to also educate me whether dopamine clears quickly in the prefrontal cortex, which requires one supplement, versus slowly, which requires another, or the calcium channels are unstable and they would benefit from fish oil and magnesium, that kind of thing. We were able to leverage that. And it was both the supplements on the Genomind and pushing the dose of the indicated medication that ultimately, this stands out vividly to me. This was a watershed moment because you went from a lot of frustration to, well, I remember your smile at the beginning of the visit on the telemed monitor, like, yes, we are there.
I felt like I had reached the goal, and initially I was against the pharmaceutical route and had tried all the others, but with the Genomind test, it gave me the confidence that I wasn't shooting in the dark on this, that I was going to be starting or trying with the best option for me genetically. And I have the opinion now that I'm okay with what I'm taking, and that was the process I needed to take for myself. Other people can jump into trying medications quicker than what I maybe was willing, but that is what worked for me.
I've sometimes thought of this phrase, there's a lot of meaningful no's before a meaningful yes. I don't know if you and I have ever talked about that.
I don't think I've heard that one from you before.
But I feel like part of the trust in the therapeutic alliance is saying, if we want to go non-drug, great, let's go non-drug. Let's try this, let's try that. And I think it eliminates pressure, because it's so common for people to assume MDs are going to want to go straight to pharmacologics. And I think it changed the feeling of the conversation of, again, you're doing so much, you're doing so many of the right things that would help most people most of the time. There's probably some physiology that doesn't want to budge without medication. That's another thing I remember. Mm-hmm. That was probably kind of the flavor of that conversation that day. Like, I think this could be a really powerful thing for you if you wanted to try it. And I think we talked too about medications not being harmful to the brain, not being addictive or habit forming, and that you weren't wedded to them. If you ever wanted to stop, we'd wean. Right. Which is, again, part of the future. I think they're safe to continue and they're safe to be stopped. So you didn't hopefully feel like you were making some kind of one-way street
Right.
decision. Oh, it's a pretty cool feeling just to get to talk to you about the journey. This is what I'll reflect on over the years, that I got to do this, that I got to work with people like you. And by that, I mean hardworking, curious, leaning in, very courageous around this is what's going on, this is what I'm doing. What would you want, maybe two important things, what would you want someone to know that you think it takes to be a good functional medicine patient? Like, what's the recipe for success? Is it just persistence, or?
I think some open-mindedness, and also some willingness to learn things that are not necessarily the norm, putting in some time to understand. And you always do a great job of explaining the new supplement that might be started, or giving me the resources where I could look. So it really was up to me of how much time I wanted to learn about myself and what was going on. And that's just my personality is, I want to know the why. I want to know all of that. And so that was available for me.
If maybe it's addressed already, but again, if you're just chatting with a friend over hot beverage and they said, and you were saying, well, why go down to Seaworthy, right? Like, why have your issues addressed there? What do you think sets this setting apart from other settings?
That's a really good question. My answer would be an environment that is very non-judgmental and inviting. I feel that your practice is personal. I don't feel like a protocol. I'm an individual, and that is so important to me. Those are the things that stick out in my mind for your practice.
I think of each plan like a tailored jacket made for that person. That's what I flashed on while you shared that. Well, CK, wow, I'm just really happy for people that are going to benefit from the time that you took today. My dad was a Depression era. He was influenced by the Depression. He was a little kid at the end of it, and he was always kind of like, keep your head down. Don't shine a light on yourself. And so this doesn't really come naturally to me, but I think it's an imperative from a service perspective for people to hear the good things that are happening here. And I'm really proud I get to be part of it. And I'm really proud you were willing to help someone, and someone's out there that need this information. So
I'm really happy I could share it. It's very important to me to share the good information and the things that I've learned.
Kind of a pay it forward feeling.
It really is.
Yeah. All right. Well, have a great day.
Thank you.